thank you all for joining us for our webinar on the topic of fall safety. We're going to be discussing how we can keep our pedestrians, motorists, and transit users safe during this time as it's getting darker. I am Candace Critchlow, manager of Port Coquitlam Community Police Services, working as part of the Coquitlam RCMP community policing team. We are excited to bring you today's presentation as part of our 2021 Community Safety Webinar Series and our last in the series at this point. So the hope of this webinar, though, is that with fall, rain, and darker hours, we are increasing awareness around our moving community, whether it be walking, driving, or transit. So joining us today, we have some lovely community partners. We have Kathleen Nadalin, our local ICBC Road Safety Coordinator. We also have Transit Police. So we have Constable Jenny Chung, part of their community engagement team, as well as Constable Marco DeTrolio, and he's part of the community engagement team as well. So we will hear a presentation from Kathleen and view a short video from Transit Police. And then finally, we will open it up for a Q&A session that is based on the questions that you guys provided to us in order to get a little bit more engagement on what you guys have been looking for. So at this point, I will open it up for Kathleen to take it away and share her PowerPoint.
Very much for inviting me to present today to talk about pedestrian safety. That's going to be my main focus of today's discussion. Right now is the Pedestrian Safety campaign. We work very closely with police, including transit police, but municipal police and the RCMP throughout the province, trying to remind drivers that when you really look for pedestrians, you can see them. But then as pedestrians, you need to take care and also help drivers see you, better see you. So basically, we all play a part in keeping everyone safe on our roads. So, this is a good question. On average, how many pedestrians are killed and injured in car crashes every year in BC? Unfortunately, we're finding this stat continues to rise. Almost 1 in 5 people killed in car crashes are pedestrians. In terms of injuries, once again, these are on the rise as well. So each year in our province, 2,400 pedestrians are injured due to crashes, and 52 pedestrians are killed. And that's each year in our province, just in our province alone. So why are more pedestrians getting injured by vehicles? Well, there's a number of reasons. First of all, when you look at the weather, and I'm sure that there's lots of folks on this call, I know I've been one of those drivers where I'm driving and I'm like, oh my God, I did not see that pedestrian. It's dark, it's rainy, you know, we're all in a rush. Trying to get someplace. So especially in particular this time of year, I mean, you don't have to look very far to see some of the sad news that's happening right now where people are getting hit by vehicles. So, and particularly right now, we have to take extra care. One of the things and one of the statistics that I find quite interesting is that 79% of all crashes involving pedestrians happen at intersections. So, you know, before I used to think, I always thought it was pedestrians that were crossing mid-block that were getting killed and injured. But in fact, no, it's telling us that the majority of almost 80% of car crash involving pedestrians actually happen at intersections where the pedestrian has the right of way. So what's happening at these intersections? I have to ask myself, you know, and what, you know, and this is what we understand is we've got distracted drivers, we've got drivers who are in a rush, but you know what? We also have pedestrians who are also distracted. I know that there's a number of you on the call that have seen pedestrians, you know, with their cell phones walking across the road, or maybe they have their earbuds in. So that alone is the reason why these incidents are happening at intersections. One thing we know with people crossing mid-block, we would never recommend crossing mid-block. Let me say that. But are people paying a little more attention when they're crossing mid-block? are they looking both ways to make sure that they are safe? In the ideal world, wouldn't it be great if all pedestrians were acting like they were crossing mid-block, but at marked intersections? I bet you that would keep them safe. So these are, as I had mentioned, some of the contributing factors. We've got distracted drivers on our roads. We've got drivers that fail to yield the right of way to the pedestrian. Of course, we know that the pedestrian has the right of way. However, the pedestrian, they might be failing to yield the right of way because they don't necessarily see the pedestrian. And that brings us into the weather pattern right now that we're seeing, dark and rainy. So another couple of statistics that we have, the majority of crashes involving pedestrians happen in the afternoon, 3 to 6. Well, yeah, lots of pedestrians are on the move at that time. So are vehicles. So, we've got people coming home from that mad rush, coming home from work, and a lot of more pedestrians who are also commuters, and they've been taking train, transit, and they're on their way home as well. We also see that Thursday, Fridays are typically the worst. And of course, this all happening during fall weather. To sort of break it down in terms of pedestrian injuries, you can see the Lower Mainland, 83% of all pedestrians involved in car crashes, 83%. It's very high in the Lower Mainland. And that's just because we've got so many more pedestrians that are making their way through, going to work and taking transit than potentially the other parts of the province. Before I move on to some of the tips on how to be safe as a pedestrian or as a driver, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the great statistics that ICBC have. If you're at all more interested in sort of getting down to the detail of, I'm phoning in from Port Coquitlam, and I'd be really interested to know how many car crashes are happening on my street, or how many car crashes involving pedestrians and or cyclists are happening in our community. If you were to go onto icbc.com, all you need to do is in the search function, type in something called crash stats. It will take you to a page and you'll be able to plunk in and navigate to where your street is, and you could find all the car crashes that are happening and that have occurred over the past 10 years. It's a very interesting site to look at, and it kind of gives you a good idea as to where some of these car crashes are happening. Okay, moving along, intersection safety for drivers. Obviously as drivers, we always got to focus on the road. We need to leave our phone alone. And in particular, we need to be ready for pedestrians, especially when we're turning at intersections. So for an example, this is something, and this is where I almost was involved in a car crash. I'm not scared to admit it. And maybe some of the people on the call have had this. I'm driving along and I'm so busy looking left because I want to make a right-hand turn. I'm so busy looking left to make sure that it's safe for me to turn right because I'm waiting for the cars, that I don't do that secondary check right before I turn right. And there's a pedestrian right there. So it's so important that as we're in our vehicles, when we're looking to make any kind of turns, we always take that extra second right before we make the turn to make sure that there is no pedestrians that were potentially in our blind spot. We also have to be sure that when we're out there, sometimes pedestrians, sometimes drivers, sometimes, when you're in traffic, it can be unpredictable. Sometimes people are doing funny things on our road. So we need to be safe drivers and to be paying attention to the road for sure. Intersection safety tips for pedestrian. One of my favorite tips is to make eye contact with drivers. And I know it is a little bit difficult, in particular when it's dark out, but when it's daytime, it is something that you can do. When you make eye contact with the driver, you know that you've seen each other. So that's always very helpful. Again, it kind of brings us back to like elementary school. You got to look both ways. You got to keep yourself safe. You're going to remove your headphones. You're going to make sure that you're not crossing while you're distracted. And then, just be seen. Take the time to, before you step out, and we all love wearing dark colored clothing, especially in the winter time, but take some time to make sure that you're wearing something bright, and maybe something reflective, and particularly at night. So I'm going to show this video, and this is real footage of CCD cameras in England. So, you know, it goes to show how distracted people can be when they're on their cell phones as pedestrians. It takes sort of a twist at the end because it goes into kind of on the darker side of things, but where it talks about, you know, how a car crash involving a distracted driver can happen really quickly. But let's just take a look at this video. So, you know, that really showed how quickly a car crash can happen, in particular when you're not paying attention to the road. And as I had mentioned before, intersection safety for pedestrians, you know, we just also as pedestrians have to be so careful out there, and we need to take care of ourselves. One of the things I wanted to mention here too is electronically powered vehicles. They're pretty quiet, right? I think before, you know, when we were learning about road safety, we talked about using our eyes and our ears. Well, you know, there's a number of vehicles that are very quiet out now. So we need to be aware and really focused on the roads and making sure that we don't have anything else that's distracting us as we're walking around, and even at lit intersections. And even if we have the right of way, it's still very important to make sure that the driver is stopped. So as I had mentioned, these are some of our regional statistics. We had talked about this earlier, but you can see right here that the vast majority of car crashes involving pedestrians are happening in the Lower Mainland, right where we live. So what's being done to raise awareness about pedestrians? One of the things that we talked about is the campaign that we're running with police right now, ICBC, and with the police across the province. But the other thing that ICBC has done is we work with municipalities, and we work very closely with them, and we get involved with various road improvements. And since 1990, in fact, ICBC has invested over $150 million to 6,500 road improvement projects and studies across BC. A number of those are actually involving pedestrians. So making pedestrians safer on our roads and working with the municipal government to try to make sure that pedestrians are safer on the roads. The other thing that we've got going on right now is the intersection safety cameras. So there's 140 of these across the province. And in Port Coquitlam, for an example, there are 2. So the idea is that these intersection safety cameras, they will give people tickets, red light cameras. So if you're rushing to go through a red light, then you will get a ticket. And the idea is that this will stop people from, you know, rushing towards a intersection that could be a very intersection where there could be lots of pedestrians. And in fact, when, you know, the light turns yellow at the intersection, you stop rather than speed up. So these have been, that has been a very good program for the province. The other things that we're doing right now, and you may have heard about this on the news, but we've been handing these reflectors out. ICBC, as mentioned, with police, we've been very busy, and community policing volunteers have been so awesome. We've been going out and handing these reflectors out at various locations, in particular around transit stops. Tomorrow, we're going to be visiting a number of high schools within the region because we know that high school students, many of them are pedestrians. We want to make sure that they're safe too. So this is another video, and I know that, any drivers on this call, well, any pedestrians, any drivers, we may have found ourselves in this situation before, and it certainly is scary.
When you're in your car and you hear this, you know what to do. And when you hear this, you also know what to do. But what about the jogger that's crossing at the intersection when you're about to turn? You can't hear that. You can't always rely on your ears to tell you when it's safe to make a turn. Look before you turn and make eye contact before you cross. Because whether you're driving or walking, safety is up to all of us.
So this is some pictures of some of the things that we've been doing throughout the province. Of course, like everybody, the pandemic we've really had to transition. So you see these volunteers here with their masks. They've also got some gloves and, trying to safely hand out these reflectors while we're doing that. And in fact, 100,000 reflectors will have been given out to pedestrians across the province by the end of this month. So that's really fantastic. And of course, we work with a number of different groups throughout the province. We work with, Vancouver Health, Coastal Health, Fraser Health, all the universities and college campuses. Work quite closely with a number of First Nations community groups throughout our province, and working with the homeless outreach. Unfortunately, we see a number of folks who are pedestrians, and they look to be that they might be homeless, and they're crossing the road wearing dark colored clothing. We want to make sure that these people as well, in particular, are safe and have some reflectors. So we're working hard at getting those reflectors out to everybody across the province.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathleen. That was very, very helpful. And I think that it answered actually one of our first questions that I was going to ask, which was about stats. So I think we might be able to skip that question coming up in our Q&A, but I think you did a very good job at addressing the different factors that are involved there. So our next topic is to go into transit police. So we do have a video that we were going to share for them, but is there anything that Jenny and Marco, you want to say first before I intro the video?
No, I think we're good. We'll play the video and then we'll go with the Q&A. Perfect.
Thank you very much.
The Metro Vancouver Transit System, which includes bus, C-Bus, West Coast Express, Canada Line, and SkyTrain, is a safe and reliable way to get around the Lower Mainland. Everyone who rides the transit system has the right to feel confident, safe, and be free from harassment. The Metro Vancouver Transit Police is a police department that is dedicated to ensuring the safety of everyone that rides the transit system. We want to help you stay safe on the transit system and know what to do in case you experience harassment or witness a crime. Here are some safety tips to make sure you stay safe on your journey. Be confident about where you're going. Plan your route. You can use the Trip Planner app on the TransLink website, or you can call customer info at 604-953-3333. Be aware of your surroundings. Watch out for people rushing, bikes, vehicles, or buses around transit hubs. Avoid poorly lit areas. If you're traveling by train, use a designated waiting area on Expo, Millennium, and Canada Line platforms. Keep your belongings close to you. Hide any valuables in a backpack or zip bag. Keep your backpacks down by your feet. Keep your cell phones close to you at all times. Be aware of what's going on around you and keep only one earbud in so you can hear what's going on around you. Keep your children and vulnerable companions near you at all times. Hold on to your children's hand or provide support to your vulnerable companions as needed along the transit system. When you're traveling in groups, plan out a designated meeting point just in case you get separated, because sometimes your cell phone might either get lost or you may run out of battery. When traveling by yourself on a train, make sure to sit in the aisle seat in case there's somebody that sits beside you that makes you feel uncomfortable. That way, you can get up and move. If you're sitting on a vehicle with a few passengers and someone sits beside you that makes you feel uncomfortable, get up and move. When you are on a bus, sit close to the operator who can summon help if you need it. Also, there's CCTV cameras on most buses that will record everything that's happening. Transit security officers respond to calls for service on buses, the C-bus, and bus loops and exchanges throughout the Lower Mainland. They conduct high-visibility, proactive patrols. Transit security's focus is the protection of our employees, customers, properties, and revenue. Transit security officers assist the Metro Vancouver Transit Police and other jurisdictional police with initial investigation and interactions. When using the transit system, there are emergency cabinets on every platform. You're going to find a fire extinguisher, an emergency telephone, and an emergency train stop button. On the Expo and Millennium line, these cabinets are yellow. On Canada line, the cabinets are white. Staff also have access to a first aid kit on the platforms. Each vehicle has a speakerphone that contacts directly to the control center, and a yellow passenger silent alarm along the window that silently alerts SkyTrain control operators of a security concern. In the case of a life-threatening emergency, the doors can be opened manually once the train is stopped. On Canada Line, there are emergency windows that could be popped out during an emergency. If you need assistance, SkyTrain attendants and Canada Line attendants can often be found near ticket machines or on platforms. There are CCTV cameras all over the station, on the platforms, on escalators, on the elevators, and on most of the vehicles. If you're using West Coast Express, hosts are available on the platforms to address any concerns. On each train, there are 4 intercoms that connect to the engineer who can dispatch a conductor if needed. There is also a yellow strip that you can use to summon a conductor. And West Coast Express stations also have CCTV cameras. On the C-bus, familiarize yourself with the muster point and life jackets, which are usually under the seat. Each C-bus will also have a marine attendant on board. They can often be found near the middle of the vessel. Talk to a transit employee if you need help on any mode of transit. In the event of an emergency, listen to the announcements on board and follow the instructions of transit staff. If you do need to report an emergency or threat, call 911. If you need to report a non-emergency to transit police, you can call us at 604-515-8300 or text us at 877777. Texting is a discreet way to report something without drawing attention to yourself. But when you report something, we need to know the bus or train number, the direction of travel, your location, and what's going on. Together, we can make our transit system free from harassment for everyone. And remember, if you see something, say something.
Awesome. So I think that covered off a lot of the key points from our transit police group. And this is a new video that hasn't necessarily just come out. So it's so exciting that we get to share it with you guys first. And I think that, yeah, those are all valid points that we would go over in normally our first in-person presentations back in the day. So it's lovely that we could cover that again with some visuals, which was great. We're going to go into now our Q&A. So I think I will open it up to that. And as I said, I'm going to skip our first question, which was, do you have stats on pedestrian injury? And if so, perhaps a breakdown of common situations. Like Kathleen addressed the different mapping system and a lot of those statistics as to how it happens and to who and where. So if you do have more questions, though, you can email us at the end. We'll have an email and you could ask us more about that, or you can go to icbc.com. So for our question number 2, I'm going to open it up and it says, I don't feel safe cycling. So what safety aspects are there when it comes to cycling? And I think maybe we'll start with transit police to take that away with a few options.
Okay, so I thought when I got that question, I thought I should take it as an opportunity to kind of explain about what we have on our transit system that you can utilize for cycling, for cyclists as well. So the first thing, I'm just gonna have the photo up. Can you? Okay, so the first photo here, it actually shows where the where you can actually load the bicycles. So you can actually load up to 2 bicycles for each bus at once. And I'm going to also share some of the instructions how to put it on, because I was actually out in a bus loop once and somebody who was trying to put the bike on the rack didn't know what to do. So I thought this was a great way to kind of share that. So the instruction is you got to lower the bike rack by pulling the handle. That's actually where the number 1 is. And then, but some buses don't even have this part, so you can skip it if it doesn't have it. The other part that's more important is second part is where you lift your bike up and put it on the rack. And then the third part is the lift the support arm. That's number 3 on the photo there, and over the front tire. That actually secures the bike to the bus. So that's the most important part there. Then a lot of people might be asking about the cost. So there's no extra cost for using the bike racks on the buses. I'm going to move on to how to secure your buses, secure your bicycles, so that it's, the bike thefts don't actually steal your bike. So we always say make sure you have a proper lock and chain to lock up your bike to the bike rack or the bike parkade. Police receive numerous calls about bike theft as it's not locked up properly, or sometimes it's not even locked. So one of the new things that was added to Coquitlam was the 2 brand new facilities, which is the bike parkades at Lafarge Lake and Coquitlam stations. So TransLink has bike parkades at various locations. However, the 2 brand new ones are Coquitlam and Lafarge. Okay, the picture on the left bottom is pretty much where you tap your compass card to gain the access. And the picture on the right shows how the bike parkade looks like at each station. So I'm going to give you some information on how the bike parkade works. It is all for public transit users. It is open 24 hours and 7 days a week. It is actually designed with crime prevention through environmental design principles. And so it includes bright lighting, glass walls, and CCTVs within the parkades. Okay, although these indoor parkades are more secure than locking the bikes outside, cyclists should still lock their bike within the parkade and ensure the door closes behind them. So pretty much you can actually leave your bike there overnight at each location. So the parking space is first come, first served basis. And then only customers enrolled in the bike parkade program can actually access the facilities using their registered compass card. So if you don't have a compass card, you won't be able to use this facility, but it only costs you $1 per day, or the fees will cap at $8 per month. So it's one of the best way to actually lock up your bicycle if you want to use up our transit system to go one place to another. Okay. So that's the information that I have for the cyclists, and for feeling, safety, feeling the safety aspect of it. I thought using, same as the pedestrians, when you're actually cycling across the communities, definitely, you have to look where you're going, like your surroundings, because even though because you're sharing the road with the other, pedestrians who might be crossing the road as well as the drivers, it is also your responsibility as well as the others to see what's around.
Yeah, I'm just going to pipe in here too, Constable Chung. I fully agree. You know, as a pedestrian, you know, we do, as pedestrians and drivers, all road users have responsibilities to keep each other safe. So as a cyclist, we also need to be quite visible and, you know, thinking about some lights that you could have on your bicycle, as well as being visible and being predictable to traffic users and being predictable to drivers. So not making any sort of rash decisions and jumping out into traffic. I mean, that doesn't work for anybody. One of the things, and I'm just going to share my screen quick again, because I did pull up on, this is ICBC.com, and I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware. There's some really good articles here about cycling safety. And I know that there was a concern of somebody here not feeling very comfortable when cycling. One thing that might be able to be good is to look at your route. So here you'll see a link to some TransLink cycling maps. So the good thing about that is that they look at areas where you're somewhat separated from the rest of traffic, and that might be beneficial to you when you're planning out your route as a cyclist. And then of course there's a number of great quick links to various groups you know, throughout the province to obtain some more information on cycling safety.
Love it. Yeah, I think that's great. There's so many different options throughout all of our Lower Mainland of places that you can cycle. And I mean, specifically in Poco, we have the Poco Trail, which is huge. And I think recently they just put in also a new I guess, bike repair station. I just found this out yesterday as well, which is so exciting. They also have that at Lafarge Station and Coquitlam. So there's different areas where you can even repair your bike on the way if you need to pump up a tire, things like that. So I think there's a lot of really cool opportunities now, which are really, really helpful. And if you're looking at also other bike training, like for young ones and things like that, I think on Kathleen's website, it also referred to Hub Cycling possibly, and Hub has a really great resource for education on cycling. So I think that's covered quite a lot of those different aspects for cycling, because it wasn't our main focus, but I think you are still part of our moving population and the ones who would be maybe more likely to get into an accident as well. So our next question was how to report a near miss as a pedestrian by a driver to police. So I think we were going to let Marco maybe start this one off for us.
Yeah, so it's a great question, but if it's a near hit, meaning no hit from almost an insurance or ICBC perspective, there's no need to report that incident made because there's not really much they could do. But referring back to Kathleen's great presentation on pedestrian safety, even at crosswalks, it's both the driver and pedestrian's responsibility to check the surroundings, make eye contact, both if you can, and do not assume that you've seen each other. Right? Make sure the area is clear, then cross and do that turn you have to do. If there was contact made and someone is hurt, check for injuries, make note, and if need to, call 911. Fire an ambulance will attend and see what's going on from there. If the vehicle checks to see how you're doing and they hit you, ask the driver to pull over in a safe location, call the police together, and make a report. If the vehicle does not stop, try to write down the license plate information or take a photo of the vehicle with license plate, or if injured, try to get some help. Ask someone to do that for you. As the vehicle did not stop, is also considered as a hit and run, which is a serious offense. Try to get that license plate down, call 911 immediately, let them know what happened. If it involves the bus operator will stop, we'll call the police, and we have actual special protocol for anything involved with the bus. The bus has CCTV cameras inside and outside the bus, which will capture the incident, and they could go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, it's such a tough situation to know what to do in some of these kind of scenarios. So I think it's great that we were able to bring out some of that information. For our next question, we have, what should you wear so cars can see you better? So I know Kathleen kind of covered a little bit on this of reflectors. Is there any more you wanted to say about that, Kathleen?
I think, like I said, as a pedestrian, making sure that you're predictable. So using crosswalks. When you're at a crosswalk, not only wearing a reflector, but wearing something that is a bit brighter than our usual dark colored clothing, as well as maybe do something that could draw some attention to yourself. I know that some people will put the light on their cell phone, kind of wave it around a little bit. This obviously works when it's dark at night. You know, and I'm from Ontario originally. People used to put out their arm to like point that they're going to cross the road. So again, it's just to make sure that the driver has seen you do something, that you know that they've seen you. And when in doubt, don't cross the road unless you are 100% sure that the driver has seen you.
For reflectors, if you are still looking for them, we do have them at our main detachment and at the community police stations in Coquitlam and Port Coquitlam. And as we mentioned as well, we're going to be going out to the high schools shortly to be handing out some as well. Again, my biggest thing was just being confident and clear as a pedestrian as to what you're doing, because I know that sometimes it's kind of like, are they crossing? Are they not crossing? What are they doing? So if you're very confident and clear, like, I am going to cross, here's my arm, I'm looking over at you, like, you see me, that kind of thing, and just making sure that you can cross confidently. And in our next question, then, it says, when confronting someone who is being aggressive, should you look straight into their eyes? So I think we were going to let Marco take this one away, possibly.
Yeah. I mean, first, do not confront the individual. It's not a test. It's not for you to test especially your manhood or see how tough you are. Disengage right away. Keep a distance. Move away from a person to get as safe as possible. If you're on a transit system, there are many safety features you could use. There's CCTV along the stations that could capture what's going on, a lot of safety devices. If you have your phone on you and you feel threatened, by all means, dial 911. Do what you got to do to stay safe. Safety is number one. Do not try to engage that person, because as you may know now, with all the mental health problems that are happening out here in the Lower Mainland, you just don't know what the person has on them. You don't know what they're capable of. Just do not risk it. You going home is what matters at the end of it. Ask for help. Anybody, bystanders around you, transit bus operators, anybody stop a car, do what you have to do. Report to police. If it's in progress, like I said, call 911. If the person no longer on scene, report it right away. We have that saying, see something, say something, right? Text it, the 877777 number, and we can go from there.
Yeah, we also have our non-emergency number for Coquitlam jurisdiction, which is 604-945-1550. So you can also call that after the fact as well, depending on where you are. And the main thing, again, for us, as in our role, we always say safety is number one. So this question kind of make us chuckle a little bit as to looking straight into their eyes. But again, that disengagement part was the key one for us as to how to deal with the situation. And going to a public area where it's well lit, maybe you're not on a transit route, so you're going towards maybe a business or somewhere else where you know that there's people, and not taking those shortcuts when you're walking. That's kind of a key thing for us, is just staying on popular routes is going to be much better. It might take you a little longer, but it will keep you a bit more safe. So our next question too was, if I have a car accident, how do I know when to move the car or not? So that's a bit similar to the pedestrian one, but this is an actual accident, and what is considered safe or unsafe in that situation. So I'll let Transit take this one.
Yeah, and it's another great question. We all get really frustrated out there when we're on the road driving home. We see a little fender bender and they're on their streets not moving, just backing up traffic, and everybody's getting upset. Well, it's a great question. I mean, it does happen to you. Turn your four-way signals, emergency hazard lights, and determine if there's no injuries. Just go through the steps. Take a quick photo if you can, if it's safe to, on either side, depending on where you are on the road. Take the photos, exchange information, and if the vehicles are drivable, move them off to the side of the road and continue to take photos. If it's safe to move the vehicles, and the vehicles are drivable, drive the vehicles off to a safe spot, exchange your information, and go from there. If there is a vehicle injury, call 911, fire, ambulance, police will attend, assess the damage, and they could take it from there.
Yeah, and I think ICBC, I'm not sure if you had anything more you wanted to add to that there, Kathleen.
Yeah, sure. Those are really good points. If you're involved in a car crash, one thing I wanted to mention too is, you got to be really careful out there when you're moving the vehicles to the side of the road. It depends on which roadway you are, but we have all seen some bad car crashes happen along the number one. It's obviously a high rate of speed. You got to be safe. You can't go. I mean, people are pretty keen to get photos of the vehicles and the damage of the vehicles, but what's more important is for you to be safe. So make sure that you're on the opposite side of, basically having the vehicle in front of you, your own vehicle, and then the traffic. Don't be walking out in front of traffic, because unfortunately we have seen incidences where people have been involved in a car crash. They get outside of their vehicles and then they're actually hit by oncoming traffic. You don't want to make that, you don't want to do that. So the most important thing at a crash scene is to make sure that you're safe. If there are no injuries and your vehicles are safe enough to move to the side, do so. If there are injuries, you call 911. The police, ambulance, fire, they will manage the scene from there. So that's the main thing I just wanted to stress.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathleen. Yeah, when I was talking to our traffic unit as well, just a little bit about this before we started, they kind of said very similar things to what both of you have said. One comment they also said that wasn't mentioned was you could even take a picture just from inside, from the dash towards where the crash is or to the rear. So then you don't even need to get out of the vehicle is another option for trying to get those photos. So it is another option for you to keep your safety, but to really show the situation as it happened. And then you can get more once you move them. So that's another option as well. And they also stated that police don't come to every crash. So that was something that I thought was important to say too, is that it's not something that they investigate for every single thing, but usually it's when there is a hospitalization or a situation that there's more injuries. That's more of when the police would be involved or a tow needs to occur kind of situation, because it's not drivable anymore. So I just thought I'd reiterate that as well, because they couldn't join us today at this time, unfortunately. But our last question is, can you now explain about using devices such as phones and GPS for navigation? So I don't know if Kathleen wanted to start, or do you want to start, Transit?
Well, I mean, I can start, and then if Kathleen wants to add anything, that'd be perfect. So I'm just going to go with what the law says first. Okay, the law says under the Motor Vehicle Act of BC, it forbids using of the electronic devices while driving. Okay, what permits it is to use hand-free functions. So as long as all these are followed, like so the voice activation, securely fixed on the, I guess, the holder on the dash there, or not obstructing the view of your, when you're driving, and not held in hand. So you can't have it here, or you can't have it anywhere in your hand. Okay, it has to be fixed. Okay, so this offense will cost you $368 and 4 points. That's a big fine, and also big, a lot of points, right? So let's say, for example, if you want to use GPS, enter in the address prior to operating your vehicle, and or if you wanted to make any adjustments, pull over to a safer spot and then make your adjustment to your map or make any changes. We do, as an officers, have discretions, and we use our discretions to decide on what to do in various situations, because they know best, because they're at the scene, right? So let's say you get pulled over. I'm going to give you two scenarios as an example. Okay, one scenario is if you press one button on your electronic device while you're driving, but it distracted you and you missed the light, or you didn't see the other car trying to turn in, then you're definitely distracted. So that's one thing. And then the second scenario is you're a delivery driver, and you have your phone fixed to a phone holder. You touch one button to answer a phone call, but did not cause any actions to change. Okay, and you were focused on the road. So in these two cases, the officer might give a ticket to the first instance because that driver was definitely distracted even with one button. Whether it also depends on the level of like the driving skills and all that. The second this instance, the driver might receive a verbal warning because nothing changed. He was focused on the driving while, you know, even he just pressed one button. It's the same thing as when you're using a radio and you're just changing one thing and you're looking at the road, you're not distracted. So we do, as officers, we do have discretions and we do use them. So we can't say it's black and white, and we can't say this incident will receive a ticket or the other incident will not receive a ticket, because it all depends on the situation as well as how safe you were when you were touching just one button on the phone or on your device, or if you were doing one of squeaky lines and checking more than just one button, right? So it all depends, right? I've seen a driver eating cereal once while driving. And even though cereal is not an electronic device, but we do have a motor vehicle act section for the distracted driving. So you will still get a ticket for having a cereal, right? And even for coffee, like we always, everybody drinks coffee while driving, but if it actually distracts your driving, then if the officer sees that, you might get a ticket. So it's not black and white, and we can't say you can do this, you can do that. It's all about the safety part is where it comes down to.
Yeah, I would agree. And then I know that one of the other concepts, Kathleen, was about the gradual learning levels.
Sure. So in the province of BC, we have something called graduated licensing, and that is for not just young drivers, it is for all people who are new to driving. So it's basically a 3-year process. You come in, write your knowledge tests at ICBC. You have your L, so that's your learning phase. You have your L for 1 year, practicing really well, and then you go take your driving test to get your N. So now you're a novice driver. And we've all seen these L's and N's on vehicles out there, and that just is to remind you that these folks are new to driving. When you're in the graduated licensing program for that 3-year time frame, you cannot use electronic devices at all. So you're not able to use an electronic device, a handheld. We all know that using it handheld, as Constable Chung just talked about, that's illegal for all drivers. But you're also not allowed to use Bluetooth or affix your vehicle to, affix your cell phone to the vehicle. That you can do if you're safely using that when you have your full Class 5 driver's license. But when you're new to driving, the whole idea is that you're focused on driving. You're not flipping through, you're not navigating, you're not even using your navigational system. And a lot of people will ask, well, how will I know where I need to get to? Well, that's why you have a supervisor with you. They're your navigational system. They are going to tell you where to turn. Again, and all you're focused on is driving. So that's the rules with the graduated licensing. But the big thing is I listened to Constable Chung talking, and the real kind of simple way to deal with. And hey, I love my cell phone. Oh man, I work in road safety. I hear it go off and I go, oh my God, who's calling me? What's happening? It must be an emergency. No, I pull over. Never, not once is an emergency. It's actually usually nothing. So for me, it's better if I turn it on silent, just turn it off completely. I'm focused on driving. We talked a little bit about how much it is if you get one ticket. So the whole price of a distracted driving ticket, which includes the points, is $620. So I've had my cell phone for a long time. I cannot think of one text I've ever received that is worth $620. So, and then it escalates from there. It could be thousands of dollars just for communicating, where you could safely do it if you pull over and parked. The other thing I wanted to mention is that, these laws are tough here in BC, and distracted driving, people involved. Oh, let's put it this way. There are more people dying due to distracted driving than there are even impaired drivers now in our province. So it continues to be a significant issue, and we all need to sort of play that part in making sure that we're not distracted by our cell phones, whether we're driving or we're a pedestrian.
Yeah, I would agree. And it comes back into, sometimes it was that moral debate of what drinking was and why it would cause an issue. And now it's becoming, it's a habit, right? It's the same as the seatbelt. It's the same as anything else. It's just getting out of using your device during those moments, right? And just being particular about paying attention. And I think it even, like in the question, can you explain about using devices such as phones and GPS for navigation? It didn't say in the car. So, I mean, we took it that way, but I think it's also even as a pedestrian, if you're looking and trying to figure out where you're going, or you're on the phone while you're walking, I mean, it's paying attention as well, watching where you're going. One of the big things we were seeing for a while too was the phone snatchings, which was kind of a little bit alluded to in the video of, like, if you're standing near, you know, a transit door or something, and somebody might snatch your phone because you're not really paying attention. So it's the same idea. You also want to pay attention in those kind of situations as well, and if around your surroundings, because you may be distracted by your device, whether it is driving or walking. And I think people can even mount them to their bikes now. So, I mean, it's even thinking about if you're a cyclist and you're distracted as well. So I think we've covered almost all of our questions, and I don't believe how much time flies. We're already at 7 minutes. So we've answered all the questions that came into us today. And if not, they were throughout the presentation, or we felt that they were answered that way. But my last question for everyone is, if there's one thing you hope the community takes from the presentation, because we covered a lot, what would that be? So why don't we start with Kathleen, and we can work our way around the screen here.
Okay, really good question, Candace. Well, I would say if there was one thing that people can take away, is that all road users need to watch out for each other, and we need to take care of each other, and we need to, if you really watch out for each other. For an example, if you're driving and you really look for pedestrians, you can see them. But as a pedestrian, give that driver a break, allow them the chance to see you. So we can all kind of do our part to make sure that everyone's a bit safer on our roads, for sure.
Love it. Yeah. How about transit police? What do you guys have for us?
For me, I think the biggest thing is be aware of your surroundings, right? Your safety matters, but also other people's safety also matters too. So just be aware of what's going on around you, right? Not just driving, pedestrians, cyclists. You always have to be aware of what's going on around.
Well, she stole mine, but besides that, be aware of your surroundings is huge, from safety point of on the system and people around you, to being just walking around and what's coming in traffic and all that type of stuff. But I think the main thing right now, even from Kathleen's presentation, what's been going on with Reflectors, is being highly visible right now. And the biggest when I saw those stats from Kathleen, I think there was 40% now increase of pedestrian accidents, and over 2,000. Yeah, it's just crazy. So just be visible and be aware of your surroundings and stay safe out there.
Yep. I agree. I like all these last topics. And I think for me, it's just being educated and knowing what's available to you, because knowing all these different services and the different phone numbers and knowing how to use them is really important. And that's why we're here, is to give these kind of information. So you can come into our community police stations anytime to ask about any sort of questions about safety, whether it's crime prevention or just public safety in general. But yeah, I think knowing those services is really important. So that's why you guys are all here today watching this video. So thank you very much for coming. And thank you to our panelists for joining us for such a great discussion. I always find it's very informative, and we always have something new to learn. So I will be sending out a survey link at the end here with some resources as well of what you see on our screen right now. So if you can give us any feedback, we do appreciate it. We look for what topics people want for the future. We'll be planning out our 2022 year coming up. So if you've been to every webinar, thank you for coming every month. We've had some very, very great topics. And don't forget to follow us on Coquitlam RCMP social media to get more details on how to sign up for anything else that we're going to be doing. So thank you again, and we hope to see you next time.